And hello everyone, I'm Breor, welcome back. Today's video is an audio-only podcast-style episode. I do these occasionally on the channel because they're really easy to make, and because some people definitely like them. At least that's what I've heard. Now if you haven't listened to one of these before, then let me give you the bright idea of doing so in the background while you play Goodgame Empire. Starting with this episode, I am making a playlist of the podcasts I have made, so you can also sit back and relax as YouTube automatically filters through the videos. If you're not already in the playlist, there will be a link in the description for that, so please check it out. As you can see on the screen before you, if you haven't already changed tabs, there are buttons that you can use to skip this episode in the playlist or go to a more recent one. Clicking on one of those buttons will automatically place you into the playlist as well, so you won't have to worry about that. With all that fancy stuff out of the way, let's talk about a controversial topic, multi-accounting. Now, I'm not really a big fan of clickbait or bait-and-switch videos, so as usual with these types of topics, I'd like to say right at the beginning that this video will be a refutation of multi-accounting. That's not something I'd like to make you wait 7 whole minutes to hear. Now, I am not Goodgame Studios, and I'm not here to police other players, so let me instead tell you my story and explain some points I think might be rather important. When I started Goodgame Empire about 4 years ago, it was not with the account I currently have. In other words, I wasn't Breor. I played that first account all the way up to level 58, and level 60 was the maximum at the time. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I'm not going to tell you the name of that account, because I'm figuring that someone out there would jump on the opportunity to renew it and cause some trouble for me. Anyways, at level 58, I made the critical decision to start again, and I made that decision for many reasons. First, I realized that I had made a considerable number of mistakes that were going to make it just as difficult to shape up as it would be to create another account. Second, I realized that my alliance at the time wasn't being very supportive. In fact, it was a rather hostile environment, and I knew that I wanted to end some relationships I had within the game. Third and finally, while I won't tell you what the name of my account was, I will tell you that it was a series of numbers and letters. Somehow this seemed to mess with the game code or calculator or whatnot, because I couldn't receive any messages from other players, and whenever I typed my name into the chat, it would return a number like my name was a math problem. I'm pretty sure the system has been changed since then, but it was broken for a long time, and that sort of sucked. So that is when I created Breor. Now for a couple weeks then, I did have access to 2 accounts on the game, and that gave me a short experience with this whole multi-accounting idea. Now again, this was 3 years ago, and my original account is long since gone, but I would like to say that I never really used the 2 in conjunction. Thinking back to the mistakes I've made category I just listed, one of my biggest priorities with starting again was getting superfood outposts. I specifically knew I wanted the 3 I have now due to their extreme closeness, and therefore I used my free relocation to move Breor hundreds of units away from my original account, and that made collaboration between the 2 pretty much impossible. I pretty quickly purchased rubies for Breor, and at that point I knew I didn't want to be investing, quote unquote, in multiple accounts. So that was the end of it and of story time. So let's talk about the lessons I learned in that brief window and from observing other players struggle with multiple accounts. Goodgame Empire is definitely designed so that there's always something for you to be doing. Sometimes I find it difficult to log off at night because if I wait 10 more minutes, I might be able to refill my queues, or pick something up from the mercenary post, or really do any number of small yet seemingly important tasks. Additionally, sometimes I regret doing YouTube, because it takes a lot of time I don't really have away from the game. So the argument I'm getting at is, how can someone find the time to play 2 accounts? Obviously it's possible to log in on 2, and obviously it's possible to level up on 2 gradually, but I'm talking really playing. Any amount of time you have sunk into a second, third, or even a 4th account could have been allocated to your main, and you would probably be better off with only 1 account. Many of the game's events, which can be used for getting better decorative items and or equipment pieces, really demand a lot of time, and I don't see any players being able to excel when they are burdened with more than 1 account. So time, for me, is probably the biggest discouraging factor right after the still relevant point that multi-accounting is against the game rules. Onwards now to my second counterpoint against anyone who would advocate for multi-accounting, and that is that multi-accounting tends to lead to some suspicion and alliance issues. Very few alliance leaders are happy to hear that a potential applicant is playing under a bunch of different monikers. I say this, of course, from the perspective of an alliance leader, as I have been bossing around my peers for a couple of years now in the game. Whenever an alliance is searching for a spy, members with multiple known accounts will be quick to rise to suspicion. This tendency is not unwarranted, in my opinion, as I do see it as disproportionately likely that a multi-accounter would either be someone to be wary of, or someone who might be acting subversively in the alliance. In my experience, playing with only one account is a very clean, clear, and honest way to play. One player recently joined my alliance, Nef Bloody Kings, and had an interesting story to share. He didn't share it intentionally, perhaps, but I was able to observe it as it went on, and I found it immensely interesting. This player is no longer a part of our alliance, but I know he may well be listening to this video here, so if you are this guy, then hello. But our story goes as follows. Sometimes it's possible to buy a game account on a website such as eBay. I believe the policy of eBay is to only sell tangible items, but maybe that was overlooked in this case. So someone who had recently joined NBK purchased a level 70 account and asked me pretty much every time he saw me online what he should do about it. He was really conflicted about which account to use and how to divvy up the resources in terms of property and whatnot between the accounts. I was pretty clearly opposed to the whole thing, and as I mentioned at the start, he's no longer playing with us or with Nef. I think all major alliances are, at this point, trying to remove multiple accounts because deadweight takes up space and makes your alliance weak. Often, you'll see players quit and give others in the alliance their keys to the game, and that becomes another way multis can be born. This is almost worse, because it means that the player to whom the keys have been given is also affected by the first guy's decision to quit. So if you're in one of the bigger alliances, please be considerate and exit cleanly when you quit the game, if possible. And alright guys, that brings me to the end of this episode. I very much hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you care to do so, and please stay tuned to the channel because a part 2 to this video is on its way. If you're in the playlist version of this episode, you will now be sent along to your next audio experience.